Hello Tarot fans, I'm the Fantastic Blue Sicx and this is Forecast Friday. On this week we'll be doing the Steampunk Tarot and the Gaia Oracle. So it's an interesting kind of blend of sci-fi technology meeting spiritual nature. So that's quite an interesting blend really. Not really anything I planned, but most of the time we just see what works and see what gels. So I hope you've all been keeping safe, making sure you're all staying sane and kind of avoiding all of this madness that's going on. I mean, at the moment things are easing up, so hopefully we'll be able to go out and meet our friends, but of course obviously still do that safely. You know, don't want us getting into trouble or anything. Also I'd like to mention that at time of recording I've reached about 275 subscribers, so if you are new and would like to subscribe, please do so, and hopefully I'll be able to reach 300 by July, which would be really great. So if any of you have been watching but haven't subscribed, please do so, hit the bell for notifications and follow me on the social medias. So I'm going to be doing a nice Friday forecast. So we're going to start off with Monday and Tuesday, which starts with the King of Swords, and we have this beautiful card here, which says at the bottom, silent whispers of the heart. So having this with the King of Swords as a nice little blend here, it has the feeling of, it's like being aware of your own self, kind of like, so this King of Swords has a kind of businessman sensibility about him. So he might not necessarily be someone who falls to the idea of how you might feel about something. He's a very scientifically minded sort of thing. So he might not necessarily, so this is a sort of man who would feel that that just because of how you feel about something might not necessarily be true. So this, with the Oracle, has that airing more towards the idea of you have your certain mindset, but try and allow let your instincts and spiritual feelings kind of kick in outside of how you do things, logically. With how kind of like embracing your how you feel about things, rather than just how things seem on the surface on a quite logical basis. So if this combination was one card, I'd probably say it's more the Empress rather than just the King of Swords, etc. So next week, Monday and Tuesday, is more about trying to be aware of the spiritual stuff, as well as what you kind of focus on what necessarily can't be seen, as well as the stuff that can be seen, the stuff that is tangible. So Wednesday and Thursday we have the Empress, followed by Oceans of Eternal Love. So they're kind of an interesting combination. At the bottom it says healing, creativity and fertility, and I think that's quite interesting, the fact that that's coming with the Empress. So those of you who may not necessarily be aware of the full meaning of the Empress, she does also focus on the maternal instinct. So fertility being an option, with a card that represents motherhood, or can represent motherhood, is quite intriguing. So this feels more, so in the middle of the week it's more about kind of fostering creativity. Now when it says fertility, it doesn't necessarily mean in the way of pregnancy. It is about nurturing and growth in that sort of capacity. But with the Empress, It's also pointing towards the idea of doing it in a, once again, focusing more on the emotional side. So going back with Monday and Tuesday, it looks like it's focusing on saying that you might be the sort of person who's kind of very clinical in a lot of the things that in a lot of your day to day, and so with these additional cards, it's kind of pointing towards try to focus on kind of like your more emotional side, your more spiritual side, your more focusing on your instincts rather than just your clinical thoughts. Not necessarily allowing yourself to fall for anything, to expose yourself to harmful things, but more kind of fostering yourself and your own spirituality, and focusing on how you personally feel about things and how things affect you on an emotional level, rather than just stuff that affects you on a physical level. But then don't get me wrong, that also does include things that can be bad for you. So in a logical standpoint, you might be looking at something that is, something might make sense to do, but there's negatives to it, but on paper it makes more sense to do it, whilst you might not necessarily feel comfortable doing it, but you feel that you have to because it makes sense. But if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. So we've got Friday in the weekend, we have the world, and we have this lovely card here. So, and at the bottom it says beyond the veil of illusion. So those of you who are more aware of the cards, this kind of has a feeling of the Moon Tarot. And for those of you who don't know, the Moon Tarot does represent removing of illusions. So removing the veil and kind of exposing something for what it actually is, rather than just seeing what it's portrayed to you. So Friday in the weekend is about kind of like completing a phase of kind of like completing your own spiritual journey. You've kind of completed. You've reached the end of the phase, and the world is a kind of, right, you're done. Look back and kind of pick up the lessons that you've learned from this journey. And having this oracle as well is basically saying that you've discovered there's more to you than you were fully aware, and you might be more you're more open to yourself. So you're not necessarily you've become more of you. You've become, if like a lot of us, once again, if you come across this channel, obviously you're spiritually minded, and so this is kind of saying that you're opening your spiritual self and getting to learn you through that, and able to more embrace how you are and how you feel amongst stuff like this. And so, to recap, Monday and Tuesday is about kind of learning more about your spiritual and emotional self, rather than just the standard focusing on the logical self. I obviously use logical in air quotes because we all know what we're saying when we say logical. We're talking about stuff that we can physically see, that we can physically record. And Wednesday and Thursday we are looking at being able to try and embrace our feelings and emotions towards these sort of things, rather than just looking at something solidly and just saying that is this, and not necessarily picking up on how that thing actually makes you feel and how you react to it on an emotional level, rather than just a physical one. And Friday and the weekend, it's pretty much more of the same. You've kind of reached a conclusion in your spiritual journey and on your spiritual path, and you're looking at yourself more fully now that you've embraced now that you're kind of embracing more of your spiritual side. You're learning more about yourself that you may not necessarily have known previously before starting this. So I hope you enjoyed this reading. Once again, thank you very much for watching. You can check out some of my other videos, and you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, And as I said before, I'm about 25 subscribers away from hitting 300. So if you are new, please subscribe, and I'd really appreciate it. Also leave a comment below. I always try and reply to the comments. And without further ado, I shall speak to you again soon. Stay home, stay home, stay safe, be happy, and be true to yourself. And take care of yourself, because this is a sort of era, this is a sort of time where things are going to be very tricky. I mean, it's still tricky now. It's been 2 months now, so just keep yourself safe, and I'll speak to you again soon.